Hello, my friends. Welcome to English Spark. Somewhere in the world right now, someone is making a cup of tea. Maybe it is early morning in London. Maybe it is a quiet evening in Tokyo. Maybe it is a small cafe in Istanbul, where friends sit together while steam rises slowly from warm cups. Tea feels calm, peaceful, almost ordinary. But what if I told you that this quiet drink once helped start a revolution, built powerful empires, and shaped global trade for centuries? What if I told you that ships once crossed entire oceans, carrying nothing but tea, that governments fought wars over it, and that one night in Boston, angry colonists threw an entire cargo of tea into the sea, an event that helped ignite the birth of the United States? And yet the story of tea begins not with ships or revolutions. It begins with a single leaf falling into hot water, nearly 5,000 years ago. According to Chinese legend, tea was discovered by Emperor Shen Nong. Shen Nong was known as the divine farmer. He spent much of his life studying plants and herbs, trying to understand how nature could help the human body stay healthy. He believed people should boil water before drinking it. One day, while resting beneath a wild tea tree and waiting for water to boil, a few leaves drifted down into the pot. Curious, he tasted the water. The drink was light, refreshing, slightly bitter, yet strangely pleasant. More importantly, it made him feel alert and energized. That small moment may have been the beginning of tea. Whether the legend is completely accurate or not, historians believe tea drinking truly began in ancient China thousands of years ago. At first, tea was not a daily beverage. It was medicine. Ancient Chinese healers believed tea could improve digestion, clear the mind, and restore balance to the body. People used tea carefully, almost like a healing herb. Over time, something interesting happened. People began to enjoy the taste. Tea slowly moved from medicine to daily life. Farmers began cultivating tea plants. In mountain regions, leaves were harvested and dried. Different regions experimented with different methods. Some leaves were steamed, some were roasted, others were allowed to oxidize slowly, creating deeper flavors. Gradually, tea transformed into something more than a drink. It became culture. During the Tang Dynasty, around the 7th century, tea drinking spread rapidly across China. Tea houses appeared in cities and along trade routes. Travelers stopped to drink tea while resting. Scholars gathered in tea houses to write poetry and discuss philosophy. Artists painted while sipping tea. Tea became part of intellectual life. During this time, a man named Liu Yu wrote a remarkable book. It was called The Classic of Tea. This book described everything about tea: how it should be grown, how the leaves should be prepared, how the water should be heated, even how the tea should be enjoyed. For the first time, tea was treated not only as agriculture, but as art. Tea had become a symbol of harmony between humans and nature. From China, tea slowly began traveling across Asia. Buddhist monks carried tea seeds to Japan. They discovered that tea helped them stay awake during long hours of meditation. Gradually, tea became part of Japanese spiritual culture. Over time, Japan developed one of the most beautiful traditions in tea culture: the tea ceremony. In the Japanese tea ceremony, preparing tea becomes a quiet ritual. Every movement is slow and deliberate. The room is calm. The conversation is gentle. The focus is not only the tea itself, but the moment. Tea becomes a reminder to appreciate simplicity. But tea's journey was only beginning. Eventually, traders from Europe arrived in Asia, searching for spices, silk, and other valuable goods. Among the many products they encountered was tea. In the early 17th century, traders from the Dutch East India Company began bringing tea to Europe. At first, tea was extremely rare. It was expensive and difficult to transport across oceans. Only wealthy families could afford it. But something interesting happened. When tea arrived in England, people fell in love with it. Tea quickly became fashionable among the upper classes. Elegant porcelain tea sets appeared in wealthy homes. Tea drinking became a social event. By the 18th century, tea had spread far beyond royal courts. People from many social classes began drinking tea daily. Demand grew rapidly. Britain began importing enormous quantities of tea from China. But this trade created a serious problem. Britain was buying tea from China, yet China had little interest in British goods. The balance of trade became unequal. To solve this problem, Britain began exporting opium grown in India to China. This trade eventually led to political tensions and the Opium Wars in the 19th century. Tea had become more than a drink. It had become geopolitics. Meanwhile, Britain faced another challenge. Depending entirely on Chinese tea was risky. So British botanists began searching for ways to grow tea within the British Empire. In India, they made a remarkable discovery. Wild tea plants were already growing in the region of Assam. This discovery changed the global tea industry. Soon enormous tea plantations appeared across India. Later, tea cultivation expanded into Sri Lanka. Tea production increased dramatically. Ships transported tea across oceans in massive quantities. Tea was no longer a luxury. It had become a daily habit. Tea also played a surprising role in American history. In 1773, the British government placed taxes on tea sold in the American colonies. Many colonists believed these taxes were unfair. One night in Boston, a group of protesters boarded British ships carrying tea. British ships carrying tea. They threw hundreds of chests of tea into the harbor. This event became known as the Boston Tea Party. It became one of the sparks that eventually led to the American Revolution. A simple drink had helped ignite a movement for independence. Today, tea is one of the most widely only water is drunk more often. China, India, Kenya, and Sri Lanka produce enormous amounts of tea each year. Millions of farmers depend on tea cultivation for their livelihoods. Millions more people process, transport, and sell tea around the world. The global tea industry is worth billions of dollars. Yet despite its enormous scale, tea still carries something quiet and human. Tea slows us down. It invites conversation. It creates small moments of peace in busy lives. In Morocco, mint tea symbolizes hospitality. In Britain, afternoon tea became a social tradition. In China and Japan, tea is connected to balance and mindfulness. Across cultures, tea brings people together. What makes tea remarkable is how something so small can travel so far. A simple leaf growing quietly in the mountains of ancient China became a drink shared by billions of people today. The next time you hold a cup of tea, pause for a moment. Think about the journey that leaf has taken, from ancient forests to imperial trade ships, to global plantations, and finally to the quiet moment in your hands. Tea is not just a drink. Tea is history. Tea is culture. Tea is connection. Thank you for joining English Spark. Stay curious and keep discovering the hidden stories behind everyday things.